few years ago, I used to play Hearthstone a lot, and I played a lot right now, but there was a pretty, like, big break that I took 1 year into playing the game, and it wasn't, like, a conscious thing that I decided to do. Basically, I just got a new phone, forgot to download Hearthstone, and after, like, 4 months, I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot to download this game. I guess I didn't really like it that much anyway. Eventually, I picked it up again, because it really is hard to, like, quit a game that you can just pick up and play for free, that you already have lying around. And in the same vein, like, a lot of people ask about that TV in the background, and it's sort of along the same lines of, I had to move around my room to make room for this computer and, like, this whole desk setup, and one of the things that I had to do was move that TV and move my Xbox. And technically, yeah, I can, like, roll my chair over there, I can turn everything around and get everything set up, but I just found after, like, a couple months, not even a couple months, maybe a couple weeks, that it was too much work for me. I didn't care enough about playing Xbox anymore, so that TV and the Xbox just kind of sit there and no one's really playing them. But once again, I didn't make a conscious decision to just make this like the last time that I ever played Xbox. Why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you this because I haven't played Duel Links in a while. If you've been following me on YouTube and my live streams, you probably realize this, especially if you like my Duel Links content, because I just haven't felt like playing it. I don't know, it's been a month and a half here where I think I've done 2 very short live streams about Duel Links, and I just wasn't having fun. And I know it's kind of a meme in the community, Dzeeff has quit Duel Links so many times, see you in 1 month, Dzeeff, blah blah blah. But in reality, I think that this time really feels more real to me, because unlike the last couple times that I've quote unquote quit Duel Links, those ones were all based on me being tilted or me being angry at the format, where this one was different because I don't really care about the format too much. I mean, the formats that I've seen in Duel Links, they've always been at their low points and their high points. You never can really sit too long in Duel Links before getting angry at whatever the top decks are, and I know that. I played in some pretty bad formats. I played against some pretty annoying strategies, and the ones nowadays, they're annoying, sure, but there's always annoying strategies in whatever card game you play, including Duel Links. That doesn't feel like the reason why I sort of am taking a step away from it. And I'm not saying I'm never going to play Duel Links again. And one of the big reasons that I have played Duel Links is because at the beginning it was really fun. Like, to be completely honest, playing spellbooks, playing a rogue deck that pretty much no one was playing at that time, and I'll stand by that, by the way. I know people these days say like, oh, spellbooks were always meta. I don't know what you're talking about. No one was playing spellbooks when I first started playing Duel Links. It was like a couple sets behind, and people were playing Fur Hires and Amazoness, but I played spellbooks, and I played Sound Magician spellbooks, and it was a lot of fun. Like, those first couple months, trying to get King of Games, trying to figure out skills, trying to figure out the Duel Links format. So many times where I would power to add like Fate, thinking I could set it in main phase 2, but there's no main phase 2, sucks to be me. Those sort of situations were really fun and really interesting, really unique, and really different from the TCG, which is why I started playing in the first place. I wanted something different, and if you remember back to when I picked it up, which I believe was like around late July, because I know I was on a trip, and I remember sitting in a car and just buying so many packs to build spellbooks. I don't know, I can't even remember like what triggered me to actually buy all those packs and play Duel Links. I was just like, man, Hearthstone's kind of boring right now, the format isn't super interesting, I want to play something. And I was like, well, I haven't played Duel Links in a while, and I looked at some lists and I thought, oh, Sound Magician spellbooks, that's kind of interesting, I never heard of that. I just remember sitting there in a car just spending like, okay, $10 for packs, I didn't pull the cards I wanted, $20 for packs, didn't pull the cards I wanted. I think I spent around $150 just on that one car ride to build Sound Magician spellbooks, and that to some people might seem like a huge waste, but I got so much value out of the deck, so many live streams, so many fun moments, so many King of Games runs, which is really what I was trying to do. And from the beginning, that's all I set out to do. Was I wasn't trying to get to Worlds, wasn't trying to win any big tournaments or anything. I knew I wasn't that serious about Duel Links, but I knew that I wanted to hit King of Games, and then once I figured out that you got an icon for getting 10 King of Games, I set out to do that. However, 1 season ago, I got that 10th King of Games, and since then, I haven't really felt like playing Duel Links too much. To me personally, in the area that I am right now, there's no real way to go up from here. Like I said, I don't plan on winning Duel Links meta tournaments. People keep asking me to play those. I don't really think about Duel Links when I'm not live streaming. Maybe back when I was really playing it, I was thinking about it sometimes when I wasn't live streaming, but for the most part, in the last month and a half, the only times I really thought about the game were the 2 times that I live streamed it for like less than an hour. Overall, I'm a TCG player at heart, and I always will be. Duel Duel Links was always a side game, which is funny because in the live streams, every single live stream, one person or two people would ask, well, do you play like the TCG? And it's funny to me that people were so detached. Maybe they only watched the live streams and thought that Duel Links was like the main focus, when in reality, I was mostly just playing it because it was something to stream. I've talked so many times about how the online TCG simulators are terrible. I've made entire videos about them, multiple videos talking about the online dueling systems just being terrible, and that still is true to this day. I know it sucks to hear that because there are benefits to Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro and Dueling Book and Dueling Nexus, but at the end of the day, they all have huge glaring issues that you can't ignore, and they're just not fun to stream. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro isn't fun to stream because people constantly quit and are constantly playing bad strategies. Dueling Book isn't fun to stream because the games take 5 million hours. Like, games on Dueling Book take longer than games in real life, which should just not be the case. Makes it terrible for streaming. It's fun to like watch people play sometimes, especially when it's like sped up, like when you watch like the YouTuber Grand Championship, but overall it's just so slow, it's so boring, it just doesn't work well for streaming in my opinion. So I played Duel Links, and I played it a lot. I actually put a lot of time and effort into it, especially when I was playing Spellbooks and Vampires, which to me was like the most fun I had in the game were those two decks. And I don't know the exact deck breakdown of my 10 king games. I think it was split pretty evenly between Spellbooks and then Vampires and then 6 Samurai near the end there. I think it may have been 4 Spellbooks, 3 Vampires, 3 6 Samurai, something along those lines. Maybe it was 3-3-4. It doesn't really matter. Overall, those are the 3 decks I played. I didn't play them because I felt like they were meta. I just played them because they were fun to me. I don't know. A lot of people look back at me playing decks like Vampires when they were tier 1 status and 6 Samurais when they were tier 0 status and say, oh, well, he just doesn't like the game in formats where he's not playing like whatever deck is the best deck out there. That's not really true, because when I first picked up Vampires, they were sort of a tier 2 strategy. It wasn't until later on that they became tier 1. And then with 6 Samurai, I stuck with them like a whole month after they became like tier 3, tier 2, something along those lines. I played them when they were tier 0, yes, but I played them long after that because I just enjoyed playing them. In the case of 6 Samurai and Vampires and kind of Spellbooks, they really felt more like TCG strategies than any other deck in the format and the formats that I were playing those strategies. And I think that's really something that I want to keep in mind when I was playing Duel Links. I often gravitated towards the strategies that felt most like the game that I knew and loved, the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, and there were a lot of decks out there that I just didn't really like because they didn't feel like TCG decks. In a lot of cases, they felt just way too gimmicky or way too inconsistent. I didn't have fun playing decks that if you lost the coin toss, you just lost every single game. I had a lot of frustrations playing decks like Blue Eyes and Ancient Gears when they first came out, where in the mirror match, if you went first, you lost like 99% of the time. That just wasn't fun to me. I want to play decks that could go first or second, and while Spellbooks weren't the best at going second, a lot of the times, especially during the format that they were played in, you actually could win if you went second and drew a playable hand. Overall, I just want to play decks that gave me control over my games, and every time I say that, people once again say, well, he just wants to be playing the best deck, whatever is overpowered. It's not so much of that. I just don't like it when the format is riddled with decks with inconsistencies. It's not very fun to play in when you just draw a bunch of unplayable hands. Even when you look at like the modern decks in Duel Links, when you look at the top decks right now, at least the last time I was playing, a lot of them are super inconsistent, at least by TCG standards. They'll just draw hands that are like set one pass when they're not really supposed to do that. In a lot of cases, they'll draw like super combo hands and you just have no responses to it. And it's like this 50-50 situation where that doesn't seem very fun to play and doesn't seem very fun to play against. One of the many reasons I just didn't really like Duel Links as much as a TCG. I will say Duel Links overall has gotten a lot better since I started playing. If you remember, I did that huge 45-minute, almost 1-hour video about Duel Links being a beautiful mess, and I talked about tons of issues, just like issues with skills, issues with balancing, issues with card releases, issues with the card trader, all these issues that I talked about. And for the most part, over the past year, Konami has really stepped up and improved upon a lot of the things that I asked for. Once again, I don't think that they did it because I asked for it. I don't think I have that much influence, but I hope that it made some impression on some people that say, hey, wait a second, yeah, maybe this game should ban cards or should limit cards like Treacherous Trap Hole and things like Enemy Controller were already semi-limited, but outside of that, we had every single deck when I started playing was playing 2 Econ, 3 Treacherous, and sometimes even 3 Hey Trunade. Just a really weird assortment of cards that I felt shouldn't all be legal at 3 copies per deck at the same time. And then a few months after that, I think even less than a month after that, they had semi-limited both Treacherous Trap Hole and Hey Trunade. I felt like that made the game a lot more balanced. The skills that I mentioned were overpowered. They ended up touching really, really soon after making that video, and that's really good. I don't know if the format format necessarily in a vacuum is better than the formats when I was starting to play. You still have degenerate decks, you still have unbreakable boards. The same types of issues that I find a lot of Duel Links players say that makes the TCG bad are what I found made Duel Links bad. It's not fun losing to your opponent drawing Neos Fusion in more than 50% of their games. Not only do they have a higher chance of drawing it because you have a 20 card deck, you also don't really have any responses to it. You don't have that Ash Blossom to deal with it. You don't have a lot of extenders in the Duel Links decks that can actually deal with the big Neos Fusion monster, Brave Neos, and also destroy it twice because it's protected, all sorts of stuff. I know that's going to sound like I'm just complaining about the modern meta. It's not the current meta game that's making me like not want to play the game. It's just it's not fun overall. The novelty has worn off over the past year. The novelty of not having a lot of extra deck options, the novelty of having only 3 monster zones, the novelty of only having 4,000 life points, main phase 2, all of these changes that seem fun and exciting when you first start out with Duel Links when you're a TCG player, they just have sort of worn off on me over the past year. It just becomes more and more frustrating each time I play. So this isn't a video saying I'm quitting forever. I'm not even going to use the words quitting in the title. I've just been playing the game for pretty consistently over the past year, right up until like the last month and a half, and I'm just taking a break. I just am not interested in playing that format right now. I didn't even play in like the regional qualifiers, the World Championship thing. I did qualify for that, but I didn't feel like playing it. I just been having so much fun with the TCG format, playing Altergeist, playing Salamangreats, going to tons of events, and actually feeling rewarded for the work I put in. It's not just like it's not just unofficial tournaments in the TCG. You actually have official big events that you can travel to, unlike Duel Links, which really just has those like 30 or not 32 hours, like 72-hour grind fest weekends for the person who just has the most free time to spend playing Duel Links game after game after game after game for 3 days straight. That doesn't sound fun to me at all. I remember the very first KC Cup that I played in when I started out Duel Links, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just play all weekend. That makes sense. I don't have a day job besides YouTubing, so I can take the time to just do my videos early, and then I can play Duel Links all weekend. In like 2 hours in, I was like, this is terrible. Like, who would ever do this to themselves? And yeah, I was winning more than I was losing, but it was like, it just wasn't fun. I just did not, the prospect of me in my head, like sitting down and playing Duel Links for 72 hours straight, or however many hours you have to play to actually get to like the first spot, just sounded horrible. And I was like, that was the first time I really, after starting playing Duel Links, I took a big break. I took like a 1 month break because I was just like, I am just so bored of this. I remember I got King of Games and played stage 1 all the way to dual level max and played stage 2 for a lot, or at least a lot that first day, and I was just like, okay, I just can't play this game anymore. It's getting way too frustrating, way too boring, way too monotonous in some ways. But overall, Duel Links isn't a terrible game. It's not a great game. That's kind of what I talked about in that Duel Links video, that 45-minute one. I'm just taking a break from it, and I'll try to do some more live streams. I know the live streams have sort of been lacking because I haven't been playing Duel Links. I don't really like playing on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro or Dueling Book. I'll have to find something to do with based around Yu-Gi-Oh! So that I actually talk to you guys on the live chat, because that's really fun. That's the most fun part about live streaming, is talking to you guys. So I'll have to find a way to do that going forward this summer. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion video. Just a quick update video on all this Duel Links stuff, or lack of Duel Links stuff. I just felt it was important to me to talk to my Duel Links viewers and say that I might come back in the future, but at least for the coming weeks, coming months, I won't really be playing Duel Links that often, as you can kind of tell by the fact that I haven't played it more than twice in the last like month and a half, 2 months. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you later. Goodbye.